You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, follow, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you want to continue the conversation beyond just listening to the podcast or watching us here on YouTube, go check out, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about developing consistency in your sales process. I know a lot of contractors out there struggle with this. They go and hire a bunch of people that maybe have experience in the industry. I was just talking to someone recently about this. A contractor recently is like, man, I have 5 reps and they all came from different companies and they all do different things. And I'm like, and so here to have that conversation is Francesca de Silva from Roof in a Bag. How are you today?
Hey, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. So for people who, for our audience that doesn't know, that isn't familiar with you, hasn't been to a trade show recently, ran across your booth, had conversations with you, saw you on Adam Bensman's channel or on Patrick Carr's show, or, like if they haven't seen you around yet, tell everyone who you are.
So my name's Francesca. Obviously, I'm the owner of Roof in a Bag. I'm also a sales manager for a roofing company. So I am familiar with processes and sales and the actual roofing industry. So from that perspective, I have that experience. And I found that there was something missing. And our guys, we took a very small portion of a concept and we completely customized it into something that would work for us. And if it's going to work for us and exactly with the materials that our company uses, why not offer that solution to everybody across the board? And so that's what we're doing.
Nice. So let's go back a little bit and talk about that. So how many sales reps do you manage?
I think now we're up to 18.
Okay, cool. Yeah, right. So that presents a lot of challenges, right? And so, when you guys, before you put together the Roof in a Bag and before you put that together as to develop consistency in your sales process, maybe tell us a couple of things or a story or something around, what you guys were running into and how there was how there was inconsistency. And then we'll talk about how you guys made the adjustments and developed the, or got it organized, got it on track, put some processes in place. Yeah.
And with every company, there's going to be challenges. Every individual learns differently. I taught public school for 8 years and it was middle school. So that's a whole nother nutshell. But I was teaching an orchestra. And so I had 50, 60 kids in one room and every kid, learns differently. But in music, if someone's not working together or not doing the same thing, you have a very obvious problem.
Yes.
Very obvious problem. And so in terms of roofing and sales, I'm the kind of person who I can go on a roof and I can look around and I can say, okay, here's all the important things I need to note. And, here's what we need to do with them. Let me make note of these things. But not everybody can do that. Some people need a checklist that they need to run through. Some people need to write it down. Some people need to be able to take notes or to be able to just physically go up and practice it. We would have meetings where I physically took the entire team on a roof with me. Yeah. And I said, okay, go find this, here's your chalk, go mark this up. Or, what do you see? And someone would be like, oh, there's a skylight. I'm like, so what? There's a skylight. What is that going to tell me? What do I need to know about it? right?
Yeah.
What kind is it? How big is it? Are we keeping it? Are we replacing it? Like all that information. And so, we find those same issues, when we do our sales meetings and we do role playing in terms of, okay, let's hear your pitch. Here's how we've adjusted our contract. Now go out and pitch this to your homeowner. And you see how, even though you can verbally explain something to somebody over and over and demonstrate it to somebody over and over, when you watch their take on it, it's still different. And it's still different than the guy next to them. And so what Roof in a Bag does is it gives you that consistency. Your presentation's not done until your homeowner's holding a roof. There's no way to do that incorrectly. It's literally just step by step. Everything's labeled piece by piece. And when your roof is done, you're done. So it really helps there be true consistency that's not up to interpretation across the board.
Yep. So how were your sales reps doing it before you developed the Roof in the Bag system for them?
Probably similar to how other people are doing it. You go up, you do your inspection, you take your pictures, you come down, you review the pictures, explain how you can help, you show them the contract, okay, do you have any questions? Would you like to move forward? Stuff like that. Yeah. Right. But the way they would pitch it, I'm sure is different every time. Just like when I'd watch them pitch it, it's different every time. So then you're left wondering, okay, well, this deal didn't close. What happened there? What was the pitch? What was said? What was the, whatever, what was the feel of that meeting? And this gets rid of that. Nice.
And so then you implemented it for your reps, right? You're like, okay, I have an idea.
Yeah.
What if we build a roof for every homeowner in front of them and show them each component and every step of the way? And how did that come to be? Like, did you just say one day, like, I'm going to throw all of the material in a backpack, or what? Like, what happened there? Like,
well, part of me is I've always been a teacher, right? Yep. Having something tangible in the palm of your hand is another way that people learn. And so, when, as I'm a homeowner, right? If someone's going to come to my house and do something on my property, like, I want to know what's going to happen. If someone's going to replace my AC system, like, okay, give me some details, fill me in, help me understand what you're going to do. And if I feel like you've given me that understanding, then great, you're probably the guy I'm going to hire. Yeah. So we want to be able to take that. In a matter of a couple minutes, your homeowner's holding a roof and you've broken it down in such a simple way that they understand it. So, that's essentially what we're doing. We would give them, you have the big board of shingle samples, or you have the tiny swatches in the books, and you have the little swatches of the underlayment and things like that. So, basically, why not put it together and make it something portable you can carry around? Sling it over your shoulder and, bust it out of the table, and here you go. Let's help you understand what's going to happen.
How did the reps in the company kind of adapt to it? Were they receptive to it?
Oh, yeah. I love it. I had somebody actually ask me, because for the most part, when you're doing this, obviously you're doing it with shingles because it's a lot harder to carry around big tile samples and stuff like that. But I had a sales rep who's like, hey, this homeowner's asking, they're concerned because they want a metal roof, but they're concerned about there being grit on the underlayment. And I said, well, the metal underlayment that we're using is completely different. It's smooth like that. It's more rubberized. It's blah, 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 high temperature, all that stuff. And I said, pull out your bag. I said, you can give them the 2 samples right there. Because we give you, if you, unless you check the box that says no thank you, you get tile and metal underlayment as well. So you're pull it out. And I said, hey, it's that blue colored one in your bag. Pull that out and then pull out the regular one, and they can physically hold and see the difference.
Feel it. Yeah. Yeah. And understand those concerns, because really that's all. Like, they're selling in 2022 is not, I don't think it's selling, right? Like there are things that you're doing in your sales process to make sure that you're asking for the sale and things like that. But it's really educating the homeowner. Really, if you want to bring it back a step, it's first understanding if you can provide, if you can solve the homeowner's problem.
What do they need? What's their
right
need?
Like, first, can we solve your problem, and then making sure that they have a full understanding of if you can solve that problem, and then you're asking, like, are we the right company for you? Right? Like, sign here. Right? So in doing that, I could see how, I mean, it's a very our sales process is educational, whether you're just going up on the roof and you have company cam and you're taking your pictures and bringing it down and having a, really explaining what's going on, where the damage is and what's happening, and what, even that is an educational process. But building the roof in front of them takes that to a, kind of just to the next level. Right? So in that, you're going out, like, your sales reps are starting to use this, and what effect has that had on, on their closing percentage, really? Because that's that's the bottom line, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely increased it. I mean, I even had, I'll be honest with you, there's times when either, no company's perfect, right? And there's times when, someone will call in and you'll go to book the appointment, but for some reason the appointment isn't saved, right?
Yeah.
So then, you accidentally miss the appointment, whatever happens, right? For some reason that appointment was missed. And so we had a situation like that with our realtor. And so I took the initiative as the sales manager. I called them and I was like, hey, this is not how we do business. Let me come out and show you as the manager that this is how we operate, make everything right. Right.
Yeah.
So I went out and checked out their roof, and they had a section of the roof that had shingles on it, but it was actually too low to have shingles on it. It was a 112 pitch. So Florida, you can't do that. So I explained to him, I said, this section of your roof is going to have rolled roofing, compared to your shingles here. And he's like, okay, well, what is that going to look like? So I said, come here, let me show you. Right. We were all outside. Yeah. So, my trunk's open and I had my bag and I just laid everything out. And I said, look, here's how, here's your decking. And so in this section, we're going to have, here's your base sheet, here's your cap sheet, here's what it looks like, here's how it works, and then here's where your shingles are going to go and how it's going to overlap. And he was able to see that. And so, by the end of the appointment, he's like, okay, I just need to check with my parents, because his parents technically own the house, but we're selling it back to him. So he's like, let me just get them to sign off on it. And he's like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So even though initially the experience could have been less than positive, because he started out with that, accidental missed appointment, he wasn't too thrilled. Yeah. Because I took the time to explain and break it down to him, he was like, okay, yeah, this is great. Let's do it.
Yeah. It reminds me, my wife works in the flooring industry, right? And flooring and finishes. So home builders, designers, restoration companies all go to their company to do all of their flooring and finishes. So cabinets, countertops, flooring, all of that, right? So they have a huge showroom. Right. And people come in and they like have all these racks of everything, and you put this set of tile next to and this is what your backsplash will look like next to this granite, right? And it like, you get to like really see it and touch it and feel it, and you get to really understand what it's going to look like. A lot of people don't have that same, they don't think about I don't feel that they think about their roof in the same way, like, because they're like, it's not as in front of them on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's why a lot of roofers do not have like large, it's not the same thing that, oh, come into our showroom and check out the OC and then check out the GAF. And, you get, what do you want to, like, exactly. It's not as put together, but there's still a need for it, right? I see the need for that. Like, wow, you could actually see how the rolled roofing is going to pull up to the, like butt up to the shingle here, and you're going to see what it looks like. And, oh, now I get, even though they're never going to see that.
Right.
They're never going to see how that, like, they're never visually, unless they're up on the roof, the once or twice a year that they're cleaning gutters or something, like, they're not going to see it. Mm-hmm. But that helped educate that, or help that homeowner go, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
And that helped them understand that maybe it's not going to look as bad as they thought it would, or something like that. Because rolled roofing isn't, it's not the most, decorative of things.
Decorative, and it's not shading like shingles and all, millions of colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. Like, if your home is the biggest investment, probably of your entire life. And your roof is what's protecting that.
Yes.
And so when you feel like you understand it, and that person has shown you that, not only, do they feel more comfortable, but you've established yourself in a matter of minutes to them as the expert. You've shown them, what you're talking about. Now they trust you. And, the 3 other roofers who came out and just gave them a bid didn't do that.
Yeah.
So who are they going to sign with?
Yeah. And I think you made a good point there about the protection issue, or that the roof protects you, right? It protects you. So it protects your home. So you get to actually show them the way that you have it structured. It's not just showing them a shingle and the underlayment. It's showing them how the roofing system is put together with the
Right.
drip edge and with with everything, and how that contributes, that full roofing system contributes to keeping the water out, right? Like that protects their investment. So
They understand the process, and it makes sense. When it makes sense, they're good to go.
That's right. That's right.
They're essentially test driving the roof. They get to see the materials in their hands. They get to hold them, bend them, look at them, do whatever up close and personal. And they see, okay, even let's say it is a retail contract. I mean, you can use this for insurance, right? Explain all the work, be super detailed. There's so many ways you can use it. But let's just say it's retail, right? And they have 3 other bids in front of them. And you can say, well, this is the material here that we use compared to, this 30-pound felt underlayment. Well, that's the minimum that you're required to have in Florida. But we use, this peel and stick underlayment. And so they can physically see, okay, that's why that guy's contract is cheaper than yours. I'm not asking you to lower your price, but now I understand where the value and what you're giving me is compared to that guy. And, again, it's understanding, they get it, instead of them having to take your word for it or go on faith. Like, oh yeah, Jim seems like he's a good guy. He's not going to steer me wrong. Like, I can trust him. So I'll go with him. Because essentially, like, if the salesperson, gives off a bad vibe or is having a rough day or whatever, that homeowner is basing whether or not they're signing with you off of that experience.
Yeah.
Again, this gets rid of that inconsistency. This gets rid of them having to go on faith, and they're going based on experience and something tangible.
How has this affected, you guys from a training perspective and bringing on new reps?
Oh, it's made it
getting them up to speed quicker. Like, do you get them up to speed? Do you feel like you're getting them up to speed quicker because they're going through and learning how to present and actually building the roof with the materials?
For sure. I didn't come, obviously, like I said, I was a teacher before. I didn't grow up wanting to be a roofer. But, most people who come into roofing, especially as salespeople, didn't come from roofing, right? They were in car sales, or they were, in insurance, or they were not even in sales at all. They don't know anything about roofing. And one of the things that I love that we do is the back of every item actually has, it's got a detailed label on it. And it breaks down what the item is, where it's used. Like, this is underlayment. So this one, it tells you what it's made of, who the manufacturer is, what the line is called, how long can it be exposed for? How thick is it? Because some homeowners say, how thick's your underlayment? And you're like, I don't know, right? All of that, there's like a little cheat sheet on the back. So even as you're going through and building the roof, we're able to say, okay, this is the next part that we're going to install. Here's what it's called. And they can glance at the backside and see it. And, so it gets rid of that, like, how when you have a new salesperson, and if they're not very confident, you can see through that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're not going to trust them because they seem like they don't know what they're talking about. This gets rid of that. It has that little extra, I'll call it like a security blanket if you want, but, they're able to glance at that as they're building the roof step by step and, show that, okay, they do understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely helps. And it just, I'm sure it would give them more confidence then.
Definitely.
Right. Like that they're, because if you have to remember the specs on the underlayment that you're installing off the top of your head, right? If someone asks you that, right, you have to so what else have you found it to kind of, how else has it enhanced the sales process, or, from the rep perspective, from the homeowner perspective, what else is have you found with in implementing this in the sales process?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, you're going to close more deals. You're going to have a more thorough knowledge. If you didn't come from roofing, you're going to have a more thorough knowledge of the process. Yeah. Your homeowner is going to trust you. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. If your homeowner can trust you and they can feel like you know what you're talking about, that's a win across the board. I mean, like I said, you can use it to train your new guys, use it to train, to refresh, if you feel like somebody's fallen behind or needs a big refresher, or that, that, what's it called, like boost or something like that. Hey, here's this great new tool that you can use to go close more deals. But at the end of the day, really, having that consistency and how it helps your homeowner that's the biggest win, I think.
For sure. And so, I mean, we've talked about it so a little bit, and I know it because I've seen it a lot of times. What do you want to walk through it? And, it'll be harder for people listening maybe, but we could talk through it and stuff like that of what we're actually doing and how you include this and how you put the bag together and the components so that you can really see.
Absolutely.
And understand so we can understand exactly what we're doing with the homeowner. I'll play homeowner.
So I have, for those of you who are listening, I do have this little plastic table sitting in front of me. This is like serving as my homeowner since we are virtual. So what you get when you get a roof in a bag is you get a backpack, and it's fully customized, fully custom built for you. So if you sell, Atlas, GAF, Certainty, that's what you're going to get in your bag. If you sell Owens Corning, Malarkey and IKO, it's a weird combination, but if that's what you get, we have, I think we're up to 7 different shingle brands. It's, there's a lot, but that you can go through and pick from. And I always tell people when they send me an email or ask me a question, I'm like, hey, if you see something or you have a question and it's not on the website as an option, there's a box for special requests. So drop it in there and I'll reply to you as I fulfill your order to clarify. So it's fully customized. You get those brands, and with those brands, I'm going to give you a run through of everything you get as I build the roof here. So the very first thing that you get to pick when you place an order is you get to pick your plywood, right? Do you want plywood or do you want OSB, right? Your decking. So in this case, I have a piece of plywood, right? So as I go through, I would explain to my homeowner, this plywood represents your decking. This is the same wood that we're going to replace your decking with if any of it's rotted or compromised or cracked or whatever. And then we're going to re-nail it. In Florida, it's 8D ring shank nails. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to clean off your roof deck. That's what this looks like. And so you show them, if you use OSB, obviously you're showing them OSB. I like to tell them, it's a good quality product. You can see it, you hold it. And I say, okay, will you hold this for me? And they're like, sure. Yeah. Right. So now your homeowner.
Hand them a piece of plywood. Yeah.
Right. They can't get distracted. They're literally interacting with you. They're not paying attention or, oh yeah, like, let me start my dinner or whatever, right? They're part of it now. Okay. So then from there, you're going to get your underlayment. So whatever brand you pick, if you pick, let's say Certainty, GAF, you're going to get the underlayment for both. You're going to get the roofing system for both. So I would go down and next I would say, okay, the next thing you're going to get is your underlayment. That's what we're going to put down next. It's a peel and stick underlayment, blah, blah, blah. Tell them how wonderful it is and what it does, So I like to use the example where, like, if I have a little piece of felt and I put a pencil through it and I say, look at the difference here. If you put a pencil through it, you can see the daylight right through it, right? Let that represent a nail. If you're missing shingles on your roof, is that gonna be watertight? Probably not at that point. But with this, it's self-sealing around the nails, right? You explain that to them, they can see it, and you're building that value. So then I go ahead and while they're holding the plywood, I lay that underlayment right on top. And then I go on to the next step, right? The next step is that now in Florida, because some people, other states, you put the drip edge down first, whatever, do it how you do it. But you have the components. So I would say, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install your drip edge. And again, explain, it's 26 gauge piece of steel. Here's how it works, directs the water away. Here's how we install it. And you just plop it right down there on the end, right? Okay, so it's just going to sit there as they're holding it. And then from there, you're going to go on, okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put down your starter shingle. Again, explain the purpose of the starter shingle. right? How that tar strip holds that bottom row down and all that good stuff. And you build it, right? Put it right on top of the drip edge. Okay, so now they're holding 3 parts of the roof on top of the decking. Okay, the next thing we're going to do after we install your starter shingle, Mr. Homeowner, is we're going to go in and we're going to put down your field shingle, right? So you fill that down, right? And we're going to shingle your roof all the way up to the peak. And when we get there, it's very, very important that we vent your attic space. And then you can explain how your soffits work, right? That's your intake, works off the concept of hot air rises. As long as they have a peak, you're going to be able to cut in a ridge vent. And then you take out your shingle over Cobra ridge vent, right? If you're getting a GAF bag, you're getting a GAF ridge vent. Certainty, same concept, right? So same thing for Owens Corning. If you're getting a mix, like let's say you're getting GAF and Certainty and Owens Corning, most of the time I'm going to use the ridge vent that goes with your number 1 choice. It's essentially the same thing. So then you tell them, we're going to install this low profile shingle over Cobra ridge vent. I like to take the opportunity to show them, where the nails are going to go and compare it to, the old school where you had an aluminum ridge vent, every 4 feet or however, long it is where you are, there's that overlap. And if you've got flying debris, like in Florida, we have, oh my gosh, in the summer, it rains 4 o'clock, rains every day, every single day. But we get hit with a hurricane on average once every 3 years. So you've got, tree branches, you've got debris, if something hits that ridge vent and dents it, well, guess what's leaking, right? And all your screws are exposed. So I like to show them, I use this again as an opportunity to build value and say, this is what the product is. This is how we install it. Here's where your nails are going to go. And what covers those nails is that hip and ridge shingle. And that's going to go over top of that and explain, here's how it's installed. Here's what it looks like. Now you don't have this big aluminum vent on your roof. It actually looks nice, blends in with your shingles. It's low profile and it's a better quality. And so in a matter of a couple minutes, now your homeowner is holding this roof in the palm of their hands, right? And you've got plywood, you've got all the components. It's maybe a couple pounds, but they're like, okay, I get it. If you were somebody who was at Win the Storm in Texas, you met my cousin Robin and her daughter. She was helping me man the booth. And she works for Johnson & Johnson. She does not work in roofing whatsoever. But the concept of roof in a bag is so simple that for her, I broke it down and I said, okay, here's how this works. Here's what we do. And in a matter of minutes, when I had to go off and do something, or heck, if I wanted to go to the bathroom, right, I had someone there to help me. She was able to go, okay, look, here's what we do for you. Here's how it works. And she had a full understanding. She even told me that when she went home, her husband was talking about roofing with somebody. And she's like, I didn't ignore the conversation this time. She's like, I knew what he was talking about. She really understood it. And so, it's simple enough and it's transparent. It's straightforward. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no, there's nothing to hide about it. It's literally explaining the process in a way that they're going to understand. And so in a matter of minutes, your homeowner is able to look and say, okay, now I understand what's going to happen.
Yeah.
She said she built her house 6 years ago and she's like, I didn't understand at the time why my roof was so expensive because I thought it was just wood and some shingles. She's like, but now I understand it. Now looking at all these components and how it's put together, I get it. And now I understand why it costs what it costs.
Yeah.
You're building value.
For sure. Where's your ice and water shield? I'm in Minnesota. We need some ice and water.
So in Florida, they require us to either use 2 layers of 30-pound felt. Okay. 1 layer and tape all the seams, which that's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, who has time to tape every seam? People do it. Good for you. Or a peel and stick underlayment, which is our ice and water.
Yeah.
So most of the time, that goes everywhere.
The peel and stick. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So.
But you can adjust it to wherever whatever market you're in. Storm damage restoration, retail, right? So now you could show your architectural versus your 3 tab. You could say, oh, well, this is what this will look like and why and how and build that value.
Exactly.
Build trust. Have them understand how, that you are the contractor to go with, because you took the time to build that trust with them and get them. And it does, like, everyone thinks things are what you said about, was it your cousin that was with you? You said, like, everyone thinks this stuff, everything, without fully understanding. And it's like, well, what is it? It's just a roof.
Yeah. Why is it so expensive?
It's just a roof, right? Like, we get that from our digital marketing stuff. It's just a website. You build them all the time. Why is it so, like, what? Well, no, like, here are all of the granular details that go into this, and people go, oh, now I get it, right? Like, and so, and that's what we need as salespeople in the industry, is to be able to educate the homeowner on what they're getting, what your value is. I'm sure that there could be a lot of conversation in there about the different warranty options, the difference between the material warranty, the workmanship warranties. And like, you can have, like, as you're going through this process, there's a lot of things that you can have conversations about during that, right?
So on that same note, whatever brand it is that your company's picking. So let's say I just built a CertainTeed roof, right? So in that bag, based on the brands you pick, you're going to also get the shingle samples that go with it. So you can further that conversation, right? They understand the process. Okay, now let's look at some colors. What do you think you'd like for your roof? There you go. You get that for each brand that you pick. And you also you're going to get, brochures. If you're someone who does tile or metal, that's an option that we include in there too. These are just the ones I have. But again, you put it in there, I'll do what I can to make it happen. And then you also get copies of the warranty paperwork. Mm-hmm. If you pick GAF, you pick CertainTeed, you pick whatever brand it is, we're going to include copies of the warranty. So you have the opportunity to discuss that with your homeowner when they say, oh, well, what's the warranty on that? And you say, well, you have a limited lifetime warranty. And they're like, okay, what's that mean? Well, you can pull it out and you can, okay, well, this means, for the first 10 years, this is what it means, after that it depreciates or whatever it is. You literally have it handy in a little protector where you can pull it out and say, okay, well, let's look at it together. And, here's what it includes. Here's what it excludes, really put them at ease. And, there you go. I feel like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's the fear. Like, you're really working toward, like, we do a lot, in marketing around the fears of the consumer, and we're speaking to the fears and trying to alleviate those fears. We do that in our sales processes also. Every company should do that in their sales process, in their marketing and sales process. And so that's what you're really doing. They have a fear of being ripped off. Yes. So you're showing them that you're a company that can be trusted. They have a fear of faulty workmanship. You're showing them that that the roofing system you install will be installed properly. It will be there. You're using quality materials. You're like they have. Those are the fears that consumers have. So you're able to alleviate that by showing them, by building it right in front of their face. And then you are different.
You're differentiating yourself from your competition.
Yeah. I just did I don't know if you've met Chuck Toki yet from Top Rep. I just did a podcast with him, and they do attic inspections. They do these things. And so, like, they'll turn to the homeowner and say, well, did that person inspect your attic? Like, oh no, I already had someone, do, and they're like, well, what did they do? Did they just go up here? Did they go here? Like, and by that slight differentiation, it's like, well, no, were they supposed to look in the attic? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so there's all these, let's be honest with ourselves. Roofing is a commodity, right? It doesn't take much in a lot of states. Florida's a little different because you have licensing, but in a lot of states, it's a free-for-all, right? Like, go buy a ladder and let's go. And so you have to find ways to differentiate yourself versus the competition. But even in a state that has licensed contractors, and there's still a big gap in, there's still the story on the evening news about that contractor, what that contractor, how that contractor ripped off grandma, right? Like, it still happens. So making sure that you're building trust at that kitchen table.
Number one, least trusted, field out there is contracting. And at the top of the list is roofing. Yeah. Like, it's an actual statistic. Like, the number one, feared or least trusted. That's probably what I was
least trusted.
Least trusted trade out there is contracting, and on top it's roofing.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid of getting something that's, subpar or getting ripped off.
Yeah.
You're building value and showing quality and separating yourselves from your competition. And that's what the homeowner needs.
Yes. I was talking to a company in Canada recently, and they were saying, well, we don't want to call ourselves a roofing company. Because
shady if you are
home improvement, they're a home improvement company, like, right? Like, but it's like there is a stigma around roofing. I think that it's changing. A lot of it, I think that there are so many more professional business owners and professional salespeople and professionals in the industry that are really changing that. But there is, it's the lowest trust of the lowest trusted.
It's roofing. You have to have a way to combat that.
Yeah.
Other than just saying, like, other than just talking.
Yes.
Right? It has to be more than just talking and taking some pictures, right? You have to have some way to separate yourself from, not that they're all bad apples, but you have to have a way to show that you're not a bad apple.
That's right. That's really what you have to do, is you have to develop that. You have to develop that rapport with the homeowner and that trust level, so that they understand that you're not one of those, right? Like, you're not the bad guy. You're one of the good guys.
Trust, and it's not just based on whether or not they like your personality.
That's right. So, Francesca, what do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience, being in roofing, being a sales manager, starting roofing in a bag, that for contractors to find, what is the greatest insight you could share for contractors to find success in roofing?
I always tell my guys it's transparency. And I think that translates across the board. Whether you're the salesperson, whether you're the receptionist, whether you're the guy in charge of production, whether you're the owner of the company, being clear and upfront and transparent and honest about either what has happened or what is going to happen, not just like making, I use this example with, with my sales guys, if it's an insurance job, right? Their roof is super tore up, and the homeowner's asking about their gutters. Right? Instead of saying, oh yeah, we'll get your gutters replaced. Don't worry about that. You want to make the sale, right? But then what happens when the gutters don't get covered? You couldn't control that the gutters got covered or not covered. That wasn't your decision to make, right? So I always tell them, we're going to do everything we can to get those covered for you. We're going to point it out to the adjuster. We'll document it. We'll do everything we can to help you out. But at the end of the day, that's not our decision, and if for some reason they're not approved, then I'll get you a quote, and then you would pay out of pocket to replace them. And you've set them up that, hey, if it doesn't happen, they're okay with that. They expect that. But if it does happen, hey, you're their favorite person, because now their gutters are covered by their, by their insurance company if you had a storm. So being transparent on the front end, I think that's the biggest thing for me. And, roof in a bag helps you do that. Just being honest and upfront with your customers about what to expect, I think that goes a very, very long way.
Awesome. And how can they find Roof in a Bag?
It is, we're all about simplicity, right? Transparency being very easy. It's roofinabag.com. What
Awesome.
is literally a roof in a bag? Well, that's where
That's right. That's awesome. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.